All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How's everybody?
I'm good.
Good afternoon, Professor.
How are you, Dexton? How are you, Eva?
Good to you.
Uh, good, good. How are you? I see only four people. I don't know what's happening with the rest of the class. Before I joined the collaborate session, I checked the discussion board, and there were only four people, which is exactly the number of people in the collaborate session. So it looks like the rest of the class, at least there are like 20 people in this class. And what's going on? Um, the stock market is a little better today. The debate, the question, in the stock market is whether the inflation is transitory or um, it's sticky, and or more than transitory, long lasting. Um, I was let me I
You
was
also
checking.
heard about the supply chain crunch. Like we're not going to get a lot of our stuff done.
Yeah, that's one factor. But then here's the thing. Inflation is not necessarily a bad thing. I talked about this before. But what is disconcerting, what this inflation is disconcerting about is why it is disconcerting is that it's also from the supply side, right? And as you said, because of the supply chain crunch, this is definitely coming from the supply side, and that is a bad thing. If it is coming from only from the demand side, right, then it's not a bad thing. And I've been talking about this before. There are two sources of inflation, two types of inflation. One is demand pull, and the other one is cost push. Demand pull is, due to strong demand. Strong demand means the economy is booming. Otherwise, there can be no strong demand, right? So everybody's income is, higher, um, and then uh, strong, higher income inevitably results in strong demand. So if the strong demand is, pulling, because the demand is pulling the price, right? Strong demand means, uh, demand is, pulling up the price. Uh, this is generally also called reflation. I mean, this type of inflation, demand pull type of inflation, is also called reflation. And reflation is a good thing because reflation means um, supply side is also increasing. Supply is, I mean, first of all, how can the demand be strong? Because everybody's income has grown. And how can everybody's income grow? Because the supply side, in other words, labor market, um, there are plenty of jobs, and so there's actually a shortage of supply of labor. In other words, more jobs than the workers, number of workers. Then workers can choose, right? They can shop around. They can, they quit jobs. And this is actually what has been happening to the US economy. There's a worker shortage. So inevitably, the wages are going up. And then there was this argument, there was this debate that, well, there's a worker shortage because um, a lot of workers who didn't get vaccinated died. So
And the COVID benefits. That's what they were saying.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
the COVID benefits stopped. I mean, I think September was the last month or August was the last month, and they are not paying out COVID checks anymore. Yeah, until then, yeah, but that was a factor too. But then, as I said, some people were arguing a lot of people who died of COVID without any vaccination. Uh, that's because there's worker shortage. Well, and including also, as you mentioned, there are people who are living off this COVID, stimulus checks. They are not working. So these are called discouraged workers, or people who are not actively looking for a job. So they are, if statistically, if people are not in labor, not actively looking for a job for more than 6 months, then they fall out of the labor force. In other words, they are not. They are called discouraged workers because normally they are discouraged, because they try to get a job, but then no success. They end up with always rejection. I'm sorry, you can't, we cannot hire you, or then they get discouraged. So they just live off what's that called, unemployment benefit, and they fall out of the labor force, and then they are not captured in the statistics, right? So then, without them, they calculate the unemployment rate. Then unemployment rate will look much lower than it really is, because they fall out of the labor force. They are not counted. So there was this debate, there was this argument that the reason unemployment rate is low and there's worker shortage is because of these people who fell out of the statistics, and the people who died of COVID for not getting vaccinations. Yeah, there was this debate, but the evidence is otherwise. Why? If that's the case, I mean, yeah, some people may have died out of COVID, but not every the unemployment benefit claims, unemployment claims have fallen. Unemployment unemployment benefits numbers are the lowest, right? The latest data shows that the unemployment benefit claims are the lowest ever since the pandemic. So what does that mean? Not everyone is just living off the unemployment paycheck or COVID paycheck. I mean, COVID paycheck stopped, so they are definitely looking for a job, and even those who are totally just trying to mooch off the system, or leech off the system, that number is going down. That number is the lowest, right?
You know what I heard, Professor? I heard that there aren't enough truck drivers to meet like this high amount of demand, so they want them to 24/7.
Exactly. Exactly. That's also part of the supply side crunch, in other words, so the evidence is clear. Evidence is indicating that there is clear worker shortage, and the worker shortage is not due to a COVID check, or not due to people unwilling to work. There are people are willing to work, but there is still shortage, and that's because there's more jobs than the labor force, right? Then wages are supposed to increase, and increasing wages is a big part of inflation, right? Increasing wages are a big part of inflation, right? And this is a demand pull. This is the demand pull inflation. And I've been telling demand pull inflation is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because it's a sign of the vibrant economy, right? But then, again, uh, uh, the reason this is disconcerting is this inflation is not only the demand pull, there is cost push. I mean, the reason I'm talking about this is because even a week ago, right, the debate was, was that this is going to be like a stagflation, right? Even a week ago, there were newspaper articles about, oh, this isn't this like a reminiscent of 1970s stagflation.
And the energy crisis is the same in the 1970s.
Right. Because energy, it's it's supply side shock. Energy makes everything, energy makes everything. Oil prices makes everything more expensive. So, yeah, was it mainly due to the supply side? I mean, is this cost push inflation? If it is cost push inflation, it's going to be like a revisiting, or what would you call that? Revisiting, or rerun of 1970s style stagflation. But no, the evidence. I mean, as far as I can see, the evidence is clearly indicating this is not only because of the supply side. I mean, that's disconcerting. There is supply side shock, like energy cost, energy prices, and then supply side crunch, supply channel crunch. But supply channel crunch is caused by the strong demand. I mean, demand is it's we have goods, we have outputs, but it's not delivered, timely to the market because of the shortage of truck drivers, shortage of port workers, right? Port workers, shortage of the available space in the port for containers to be unloaded. And it's also because we have worker shortage, right? So, but as I said, the latest report on the latest statistics on the unemployment claim, jobless claim, unemployment benefit claim is the pandemic low, the lowest point. So obviously people are working, right? But because of the worker shortage, wages go up.
They
Yes.
even lowered our economic growth forecast this year because of
because of this. IMF has dropped the forecast to I think previously it was in the 6% range. IMF forecast. I'm not talking about. I mean, I don't know if this came. You're talking about the forecast from the Federal Reserve, or from Congressional Budget Office, or other agencies. But I'm talking about the IMF forecast, and I think it was IMF forecast was previously a 6% range, but they dropped it to like 5%. But look, 5% growth for U.S. economy is already above average, right? U.S. economy on average growth rate, historical average for U.S. economic growth rate for the U.S. is about 4% range, right? So even 5% is above the historical average. Now, so this is I mean, if it is only demand pull inflation, that's called, reflation, and reflation is what we actually want, isn't that right? Economy must grow, but with, growth, with the growth, the cause of the growth, if the cause of the growth is the strong demand, that's a, positive, very positive sign. And the strong demand is only caused by the higher income, right? And higher income is the result of growing economy, right? Output has grown, therefore, output distributed all across the economy, right? Output distributed onto the economy itself, that's called income. Isn't that right? Output in dollars, right? Output in dollars distributed onto the economy itself, that's called income. So if output grows, income grows. Size of that means output grows, that means the size of the economy is growing, right? And therefore the income is growing. As the income is growing, spending goes up. As the spending goes up, there will be a demand pull inflation. Strong demand pushes, strong demand pulls up the price level. Therefore, that's, but this is, uh, uh, it's called, they generally don't talk about, that much, they don't talk about reflation that much, but, that's another terminology, that's how economy, that's like, and the wage growth, is the result of the income growth, right? Wage growth, income growth. And the wage growth is um, also the result of worker shortage, and also it's not just the because of worker shortage, because it's also because the output has grown, and then
Wait, Professor, I got a
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Why are some economists saying that deflation is scarier than inflation? Why is
Oh, it's because it will result in a downward spiral. It will result in a downward spiral. Why? Look, deflation sounds like in a way, deflation sounds like a wonderful world. Why? Because every day the price goes down, then purchasing power of your money goes up. Purchasing power of your money goes up, right? So with the same amount of money, you can buy more things. But then this is, then think about it. If people actually, if there's a deflation, people don't spend. It's like, it seems like people will spend more, but no. Why? Now, if you want to buy a car, right? The car, and the car you wanted to buy was like, $50,000. If the prices are going down, the car will be soon. If you wait just 6 months, it's going to be for $40,000. If you wait a little more, it's going to be $30,000. So, in other words, people postpone their big ticket item purchase. If the big ticket item purchase is postponed, then think about it. The manufacturers will be stuck with a unsold inventory, right? If they have unsold inventory, they are not going to produce. They will hold up the production until the inventory is depleted, right? But then this happens across the entire economy. And if the producers are not making any goods, then they don't need to maintain the current level of plant size and the current level of workers. So what happens? They downsize because they're not producing anything, and just people, the workers are on payroll. They will have to keep paying, and this is obviously um, um, reducing, not just reducing, it's damaging to their profit. So they downsize, meaning they lay off workers, and idling production capacity, they will have to sell it, right? So there will be an overall downsizing of the economy. Of course, it won't sell the production idling production capacity. You cannot. Your plant is built for production of like 10,000 cars per month, and just because you stopped production, you cannot. We will have to downsize it by 50%. Can you sell 50% of your production facility? That's not possible because it's a plant. It's not like a cake. You cannot just cut half of the cake and sell that half slice. Sometimes they do that. Sometimes and then they sell it to the overseas generally because sometimes they do that. But it will take a lot of in other words, you cannot sell the building, but at least you can disassemble the production equipment and ship it overseas if there's a buyer. Infrastructure, they do that too. Bridges. Tappan Zee Bridge. Where Tappan Zee Bridge is, right? Tappan Zee Bridge. Does anyone know where Tappan Zee Bridge is? No one. Okay.
Yeah, it's like going out towards like Woodbury or something, or towards like.
Yeah. It's kind of It's not exactly parallel. Yeah, but I mean, from New York, and I mean, it's New York still. I mean, Westchester County. I think it is Westchester County, and 87. If you're in Westchester County and driving westbound on 87, then you will cross Tappan Zee, and it's still New York there, but it's like a border between. It's slightly bordering New Jersey, North New Jersey, and New York, west side of Hudson, right? New York on the west side of Hudson, and then you follow 87 and that's actually 287 because it's east or running on east-west axis, and then you hit 87 again, north. 87 north, and then about the next exit will be Woodbury, right? I mean, but they have new Tappan Zee Bridge. I mean, that bridge is now called I forgot. Frank Como Bridge, or I mean, not the who was the
talking about Mario Como Bridge?
Mario Como Bridge. Now it's called Mario Como Bridge, but previously it was still is called Tappan Zee Bridge, but also dubbed Mario Como Bridge. And then this is a new bridge. Old bridge. They built a new bridge next to the old bridge, and the old bridge was all disassembled. They took down, and then who bought it? China bought it. that bridge, right? So they took it down. They broke it into pieces, like. No rap time, no hip hop time. Like slab by slab, or like slab by slab, plate by plate. I don't know if they sold it to China, and then because all that concrete, all that steel plate and steel frame that was prefabricated, prefabricated plates right? Because that was built that way, and they broke it down exactly in those, slab by slab, and sold it. In China, they reassembled it, and I don't know where, but they used it for their bridge. So anyway, the idea is why the talk has gone to this far.
Why would China buy a bridge over here? I thought that the relationship, like the economic relationship between China and the U.S., were pretty bad right now. I heard it's like
No, that was years ago. I mean, think about it. When they built New Tappan Zee Bridge, that was years ago. They started building it like probably more than 5 years ago, and it was completed.
Right now. I mean, I've been watching
It
the
was
news,
completed.
like the
Yeah, and at the time, look, it was cheap. First of all, from the bridge belonged to probably the bridge didn't belong to the U.S. federal government. The bridge belonged to New York, New Jersey Port Authority. And think about it, New York, New Jersey Port Authority. Uh, um, when they build a new bridge, and the old bridge will need to be scrapped, and if scrapping it would be it will cost money. I mean, to scrap it, it will cost money. I mean, even getting rid of your old car, to get rid of your old car, it costs money. Uh, so it's a headache. And then there was an offer to buy this, old, bridge, and New York State government and New York, New Jersey, Port Authority, uh, didn't have any objection to that, because that's a revenue for them, isn't it right? Instead of it will cost money to destroy the bridge, instead of costing money, it's a win-win, and so they sold it. Even if they sell it for scrap metal value, it's still a revenue. But they sold it, of course, better than for better than scrap metal value, value. So, and then from China's perspective, building a new bridge costs money. But if they use prefabricated plates and slabs, it would save them money. So it wasn't done on national level. It was just done on local governmental level. Uh, whoever built the bridge in China, I don't think it was the national government of China. It was probably just the some local municipality, or some uh, uh, company that wanted to uh, you know generate the revenue from tolls, right? Whoever bought it. So this was between, let's say local municipal agency, between local municipal agencies or whatsoever, and then the diplomatic and political relationship is not between the two countries, are not definitely is not good, especially the political like prowess. We don't like China's prowess, as if they are. And no neighboring countries. South Korea hates China. Japan hates China, right? Vietnam would hate China. Why? And Tibet, most of all, Tibet hates China to the guts, right? Hates China to their guts. Neighboring countries don't like China. Russia doesn't like China, because China is, Chinese government plays dirty deal. Um, I don't know if there's any Chinese student in this class. I don't mean anything I don't mean anything bad to the Chinese people, but I'm talking about the Chinese government. But it's a really really a sensitive thing, because there is a very strong, because in most other countries, people separate themselves. They can separate themselves from their government, and if they think their government is bad, then they revolt. South Korea did that many times.
It's kind of, Professor, I mean, it's kind of a little bit impressive that, in 40 years, they went from like absolute poverty to like, the world's second largest economy. Like,
Yeah. You're right. You're right. You have a point. The Chinese people in general, especially younger generation, they never, especially millennials, so-called MZ generation, never experienced, China, like, back in 70s, 60s, or 80s. Younger generation only know China of 90s and 2000s. So they think their government is, good. But the Tiananmen Square, hope I pronounced it correctly. The generation that experienced, Tiananmen Square uprising, they know how oppressive their government is, right? And then they know that's their true color. And then, like, as in South Korea, they threw out the corrupt governments a couple of times. They even ousted, the president, a corrupt president a couple of times. People, they know people, they believe in people power, people. But not in China. They never had any democratic, peaceful transition of power. It has been communist government for more than 70 years, and since 1980s, China grew economically. So the people born after that, the generation born after that, don't know. And these people, so this is something that was striking to me when I spoke to, when I was a graduate student, I had a chance to, some classmates were Chinese. And when I talk about their government in a slightly, even slightly critical way, they got mad, they got furiated. And they equate themselves with their government. There's something, in most other countries, of course, it's not a nice thing to hear if someone, criticize U.S. government. I mean, as a U.S. citizen, you wouldn't like it if someone criticized. But when Trump was the president, everybody all around the world criticized, U.S. government. Mostly the criticism was towards Donald Trump, not about the American people. So usually Americans and French or British or South Koreans, Japanese, the people can separate themselves from their government. They can, they can accept the fact that their government can be wrong. But the younger generation, Chinese younger generation, I mean, when I was a graduate student, those were, now they are old. At least they would be, in their 50s and 60s. But even then, they were, they had this belief that their government was, inherently good and impeccable, cannot do, any wrong. So I have no, as I said, nothing against Chinese people. It's just the towards the Chinese government, because they have played dirty tricks, to the name. You've heard of one belt, one road, one belt policy.
Yeah.
One road, one belt, and then so they built, they loaned money to countries like Pakistan, or the countries along the ancient, Silk Road, right? Hmm?
Sri Lanka, I think, right? And some countries in Africa, I heard.
Yeah. Also, some countries in Africa, because they use their help them, loaned money to build the ports. The ports would be and for these poor countries, ports are very important because then that will be a source of revenue because when the cargo ships um, dock in the port, it can be used as the port of export, and all the cargo from other countries can concentrate on that port, and it will be a source of their revenue. And after building, ports, railroads, and some development projects, right, in these countries, and they cannot pay. Then they cannot, if they cannot pay, then what do? They seize. They seize hold of all these, projects that they funded, they financed, right?
Oh, yeah, I think
And
I remember. People were calling this like a debt trap diplomacy, right?
yeah, debt trap. Yeah, it's called debt trap. Yeah, Jackson, you are. I think you are well read and well quite. I mean, you are interested. You seem to be quite interested in all these obviously, if you're interested in economics, all these geopolitical issues, you will have to also uh, broadly, knowledgeable in them, because to understand any phenomenon in financial market, and they are all interrelated, and you cannot fully make head and tail out of it without all these cause and effect. What cause, what is the causality of this, um, so yeah, it's debt trap diplomacy, what they call. Um, so and why did China do this? Because first of all, there is a geopolitical interest. Ports in these ports in countries like some they are usually in the poor countries in Africa, are uh, like in Yemen or Oman, or like in Arabian Gulf. And Arabian Gulf is a very critical route. It's a very critical route, uh, maritime route for shipping, especially energy, right? And then by occupying these ports, they can use these ports as their military naval base. Using it as their military naval base, right, is it means very critical. It means it's a crucial thing. Only U.S. has had in the past. You might say, well, that is fair. I mean, only U.S. has had all these overseas bases, and military bases and naval ports. Uh, and of course, U.S. military, presence, like Seventh Fleet, Fifth Fleet, Second, with all these aircraft carriers, guarding these channels, sea routes. It's very important for securing the energy supply to U.S. And not only that, but also being able to have this uh, naval force that is not just limited to the local coast, but uh, the ocean, right? Oceans of the world. It's very important for guarding the safe passage of cargo and energy, which is critical to U.S. Economy and U.S. interest. And
Yeah, that's what all of that South China Sea stuff is about, right?
exactly. China wants to dominate, South China Sea and even Indian Ocean, and of course, then direct conflict with India, not only in at the border, Himalayan borders, but also in the South China Sea. So one thing, again, you might say, isn't it only fair? I mean, why should U.S. be the only, global superpower? Now the thing is, if China being the second largest single economy, I mean, second largest economy is European Union, but as a single economy, China being, and China is about 60%, 60 to 60, not exactly 70% yet, but about 65%, 60 to 65% of the U.S. Size of the U.S. economy. So China wants to dominate also. Play this role as global power, but then there is a lot of problem. If China is China's government is playing fair and would like to embrace democracy based on capitalism, and I'm not saying capitalism is the best thing. I mean, it should be capitalism with check and balance. Unbridled, unchecked, capitalism is not a good thing. But if China is capitalist, right? I mean, you cannot deny China is not. You cannot deny that China is capitalist. Clearly, capitalist. It's so capitalist, and I believe in the history of China, right? There was not a single time that China was not capitalist. I mean, only since the Communist Revolution of 1945, they looked like they are communist, but
I thought it was only after Deng Xiaoping or that they became capitalist.
yeah. Only Deng Xiaoping embraced capitalism. So only what I'm saying is, on the surface, I mean, political system, in terms of political system, it's communist, right? But in terms of capitalist system, in terms of economy, it's capitalist, right? And Deng Xiaoping has embraced from late 70s. But since 1945, it's been a communist, in terms of political system. So unless, and the communist system is what? One party rule, and one party rule cannot be a good thing. It cannot be a good thing. Why? It will corrupt any regime, any political system that is in power for very long. It will corrupt, and there are so many. I don't know much about the internal rate of corruption in China, but on definitely local level, there's a lot of there must be a lot of corruption, and then mostly the countries under dictatorships, they are corrupt. There's no denying all those Central American, South American, and Central American countries that are under dictatorships, right? Even if they're not on dictatorship, they are corrupt. A lot of them are corrupt. But if also Russia, Putin has been in power for how long? Right? It's been in power for almost 20 years, and there's a lot of corruption in Russia. There's no deny.
Democracy. It's sort of a
Huh?
democracy, but it's a corrupt one in Russia, right? With Putin.
Russia is not democracy.
They have
I
elections.
mean,
Corrupt.
yeah. But it's always Communist Party,
Yeah,
isn't it right?
kind of
It's always
sad.
Communist Party.
Kind of sad.
And look, Russia and China political system is communist, right? And China, in terms of economic system, they are capitalist. And as I said, throughout the history of China, I mean, it's in their DNA. I mean, all that Chinese culture is all about, luck and money and fortune, and I mean, that cannot go away, right? Um, Although they may be, communist in political system, I mean, in the culture of people, they still, pursue fortune, luck, and it's not like they are that kind of, culture that is, it's the morals and ethos, right? Morals and ethos of people. It's etched in morals and ethos of people. Who doesn't like, fortune? I mean, but the point is, if they do anything to make money, if they do anything to pursue, profit, then that's moral hazard. Even to that point, I mean, doing even, anything, even human trafficking, even, organ harvesting, all these things, even for profit, they do anything. I'm not saying all, that's, that's what China is all about. But that kind of crime is, rampant. But then that's the downside of unbridled capitalism. Unbridled capitalism. I fear, I mean, if I say this, I may get, some, repercussion, some negative repercussion, or even, threats from. But I'm not, as I said, I'm not, I have no, disrespect to Chinese people. The problem is, I've been always saying, out of that population, 1.6 billion. I mean, out of that population, even if 1% is bad, even if 1% is bad, even if 0.1% is involved, engaged in all that type of moral hazard, like human trafficking, organ harvesting. That's a huge number, sheer number, but that means 99% are good, 99% are, I have only a respect for that 99% of the people.
I haven't heard of all of that. Oh,
no,
organ harvesting and all. Hey, what?
yeah, well, haven't you seen that human body human body exhibit?
No,
Huh?
I haven't seen
No,
it.
look at, I mean, even early 2000s, there was, this human body exhibit, there was and the bodies all came from China. They skinned off, these corpses, and they put it in, so they put it on in some poses, and then there was a display, and this exhibition was going around the world. And there was a saying that these bodies were not the corpses, but in the prisons they killed the prisoners and supplied the bodies, the corpse, for this exhibit, right? And then those who were killed were the religious sect called Falun Gong or Falun Gong, or it's a religious sector. Then I don't know if it is really a religious sector. I thought what I know about them is that they were just practicing some type of mental and something like Zen. They were practicing. They were just a sect that was practicing this mental discipline, right? Mental and bodily discipline. And so like Zen, they were practicing Zen. But then the Chinese government, considered them as a threat to the system, right? It's like Taliban or IS, considering any other sect a threat to their system, to their belief. They think like Taliban or IS, or thinking that women being educated is basically undermining their belief system, and undermining their, and also Chinese government considered them this Falun Gong sect. You can look it up. And so these, just like Uyghurs in Xinjiang province, they were incarcerated, and then they were put into prison, and the prison killed them and supplied their bodies for so just look it up.
I heard about the
Google just
thing in that other region. That's pretty bad, I heard.
Yeah, so just Google up, human body exhibit. That was they had it in New York City in early 2000s. And also I saw those exhibits in other countries as well, because I never went there because it was so gory, right? You can expect how gory it will be, right? But it's a very gory scene. But think about it. If it's just that because of sheer population, even if 1% is bad, even if 0.1% is engaged in this human trafficking and organ harvesting, that would still be a sure number, because of in any country some population are bad. In the U.S., of course, some 1%. It's more than 1%. Criminal, population is more than 1%. But even if it is 0.1%, because of the sheer size of the population, that would but why did the discussion, the talk digressed a lot. I mean, I didn't want to that wasn't my original intention, but we have the luxury of talking about something outside our lecture, because our main lecture is already delivered through the pre-recorded videos. But at least this will talking about what reflation is, why demand pull inflation is not a bad thing. I mean, talking about where we are and why we don't have to worry about stagflation at this point. And I would have worried about stagflation even a couple of days ago, but today the latest and wages were going up, and all these, but today the data came in. The unemployment claim data came in, and unemployment check data is the lowest since the pandemic. So that means it's not because of the people dropping out of the labor force. It's not because of the people, just trying to collect, unemployment benefit. I mean, that is the lowest. The labor market is, working. They are trying to get a job, but still there is no shortage. I mean, people who are willing and able-bodied and willing, most of them are trying to work, and they all got a job, and there are still more demand for workers, and so that's why. Okay, I'm sorry, Dexton, you were saying something.
I was gonna say, like, what do you think the infrastructure, the $1 trillion infrastructure package and the other 3.5 trillion, and like I forgot what they're spending it on, but do you think that's gonna have like a real effect this year or next year? Like,
Yeah, well, if it is, if it passes the Senate, if it passes the Congress, they came to a partial agreement. I think in the House they passed the bill, and $3.5 trillion. Yeah, that's the size of the original proposal infrastructure bill, and it's not only the infrastructure like roads and bridges. It also includes a lot of things like child care, elderly care, and all these things. Because, but the whole point is the revenue source of the revenue will be top 1%, not the rest of
so
the
it's not gonna
population.
cause inflation?
Huh?
Isn't it gonna cause inflation? Because
Yeah. There's of course, there will be some inflationary pressure, because if the already there's inflationary pressure. But again, if inflation is only a concern if the demand side outpaces the supply side by large scale. For example, inflation will only accelerate. Let's say the demand for Galaxy foldable phone. I don't know what is that called. A Galaxy X or Z, Model Z foldable phone. I really want to have it, but I'm happy with my Galaxy 5, Galaxy 8, Note 8. So I'm not willing to spend another, I'm not willing to spend like $1,300 or $1,500 for. But let's say there's a like demand 10 million demand for Galaxy foldable phone, like Galaxy Z or Model Z. There's a demand for 10 million phones, but the supply is only up to 5 million. Why? Because it's capacity. The capacity is physical. Production capacity is a physical thing. Isn't that right? How much time do we have? Supply capacity is basically constrained by its physical limit. So then, if so all they can, produce is 5 million units per year. And if there are demand for 10 million units, then what's going to happen to the price? The price will have to go up like crazy. That's called accelerated inflation. If it happens across the entire economy, that's called accelerated inflation. And accelerated inflation is a bad thing. Clearly, accelerated inflation.
Shouldn't we fix the inflation we have now before we spend on that instead of spending on it first? Like, we should fix the inflation now, right? Before we spend on it.
Yeah. Look. We are saddled. We are already saddled with inflation, and it's inevitable. But as I said, because of supply chain crunch, and because of I have to leave. Okay, alrighty, Ashley. Yes, you're excused. And because of and the demand is strong, and there is supply side crunch, supply chain crunch. Because of this, we are saddled with this inflation. But again, this is not a bad inflation. I've been telling you. The problem is, hey, see you next week, Ashley. So if the supply side can catch up, I mean, let's say the demand for the Galaxy foldable phone is 10 million units, and somehow Samsung has increased their supply capacity, building more facilities and plants. So the supply capacity is catching up. So the gap between the demand and the supply is not like 5 million, but let's say only about 1 million, right? So the supply of phones are 9 million and the demand is 10 million. There will still be inflation, but this inflation is not. This won't be accelerated inflation. This will be manageable inflation. Okay, like 2% inflation. And once again, that level of inflation, 2%, is the a positive, desirable level of inflation, and the Federal Reserve's inflation target has for a long time been about 2%, right? The thing is, inflation is now about 4%, 5%. So that's why it's a big concern. But if the inflation will be managed around 2%, then it's not a bad thing. It's more like a reflation, and reflation is not a bad thing if you think about it, right? So if they tame the inflation this way, and if the supply chain crunch will eventually dissipate, it will go down. Right now it's a crunch, but any bottleneck, the bottleneck will not last forever. I mean, even little by little, the bottleneck is the traffic is released, and the bottleneck will eventually, go away. I mean, the question is, will it take 6 months, or most likely by the end of the year, the bottleneck will persist. But beyond, the end of the year, then the bottleneck will dissipate. The crunch will dissipate by, most likely, early next year, or at least by second quarter of next year. And that is, a very, it's a conservative consensus, I would say. So, okay, and then, if that happens, then, this 3.5 trillion first of all, it will have to pass the Senate, and the Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans are bent on putting their neck on it, to reject it, because they are being paid by special interest. They are being paid by moneyed interest, right? They don't want their 1% of the wealthy, 1% wealthy, don't want their taxes to go up. So they are paid. Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans are being lobbied by the special interest. So okay, so I'm gonna have to show you. I don't know if you have noticed, but in the assignments, the quiz 1 results are posted there. Okay, I posted it after class on October 12th. That's why the attendance record, October 12th attendance record, can be included there. And let me show you. I have already downloaded it, so let's see. Not here, where am I?
Next quiz is going to be on Connect, right?
Yeah, midterm. It's going to be on Connect. Everything will be on Connect from now on. Everything will be on Connect.
So we just go on a Blackboard, click it on Connect, and it's like in your thing.
Yeah. In the course information, you will see the link to the Connect course, you have to use your BMCC email and follow the instruction. Enter your name exactly as last name, first name order, right? Last name, comma, first name order. Okay, this is the result of the quiz 1, and this is the pooled data pulled from 4 sections. Okay, so that's why look at the head count. There are 2 things you have to see here: quiz 1 result and weighted average. Weighted average is exactly the result of as set forth in the syllabus. You have your semester grade will come from 4 exams by these weights: 20% from quiz 1 and quiz 2, 20%, 20%, 25% from midterm, and 25% from final, and then attendance. So this is how the weighted average is calculated. And then, so the weighted average of, look at the summary statistics of the weighted average. The mean of the weighted average was 11.24. Standard deviation was, I'm going to talk about that later. Minimum was 0.167, maximum was 21.72. And you might wonder, how can the minimum be like that, the lowest score? Because there are people that head count was 75. So 75 people were included in this weighted average. But if you look at, so let's go down to the, that's 75, right? And some people, almost, this is how many, 29 of this 75, this is like 26 of this 75 never did quiz 1. I mean, there could be some people who had emergencies, so compelling emergencies, so they couldn't do. Or there are people, but quiz 1 was announced for 1 week, and then you had 3-day window to do it, and then 120 minutes. So if you didn't do it, unless you had an emergency, right, beyond your own control, people who didn't do it simply didn't pay attention, simply didn't have any, serious intent to do it. They just neglect.
It keeps taking me to Excel. Is that what it's supposed to do? To take me to Excel?
What Excel?
Like,
oh, you mean?
When I go to the Connect link in course materials, it keeps taking me to like Excel and this other page. Is that what it's supposed to do?
No. What are you talking about? You go to.
Can you show me?
I told you to go to course information.
Okay.
Course information too. And then in the course information, there's a link for Connect. Here, Connect site link.
Okay, thank you.
You gotta go there, and okay, I don't know. In the course materials, there's no link about Connect. Okay, and I don't know what you maybe I don't know what you clicked, but anyway, so look, so people who didn't do these 26 people, their only data is attendance and participation. Okay, that's why there are people who had, the lowest was 0.167, which means, just one attendance. It's been 7 weeks, I believe. It's been 8 weeks. This is the 8th week, right? Of course, we need to take out the weeks that we had holidays. I mean, even then, there should be like, so, if you want to see your attendance, how your attendance points were calculated, This is the attendance. You guys are section 1400. You click on that, and you will see every day for attending, you got 0.17. And sometimes you got more than that because there's a participation point. For those who, something like this, 0.1, 0.416, 0.1. How did you get this? It's because of the participation, right? And then, so the total of all that points are here. And this person in your class, wherever it may be, look, the difference between, this person got the highest attendance and participation points of 4.7488. Who has 4.7 something? In here, in the attendance, yeah, that person is this person. Yeah.
I'm supposed to have points for my attendance because I've answered various times.
Yeah, so check your you have if you check where are you? I mean, what is your student ID?
Oh no, never mind. I see it. I got 2.08. Yeah.
So you got to pay attention to you got to that exact row, right? So look, and the attendance point is very critical because look, this person clearly didn't ace in quiz 1. This person didn't ace. Actually, there were 2 people who got 100, but these 2 people, but this person was the highest. Why? This person was in the first place because of this attendance point. You understand? That's very attendance and participation. This person didn't get, got only 80 in the quiz 1. Still, this person was like, 6th place in ranking, right? In rank. I mean, normally, 80 would fall some. And quiz 1 alone, head count was only, 49. Okay? So if you are one of these people, who missed quiz 1, then that's why doing the practice problems are important. I've been telling you to do all the practice problems. So currently in Connect, you have chapter problems that are already past due, and that is due in a couple of look. I made all the chapter problems visible now. So you have chapter 2 is overdue. Chapter 4 practice problems. It has started and it will be due October 29th, and they will be activated by schedule. October 18th, this will be activated. October 25th, it will be activated. So do all these practice problems, okay? And you had already 2 practice problems from return on investment. So later, by the end of the semester, if you are missing, as the semester goes on, these data sets will come in. When there is midterm, these data sets will fill in. This data set will fill in. These data set will fill in. And as the data populates, the weighted average will change. But if you did everything, but you missed quiz 1, I will use the average of all those practice problems to replace your quiz 1. But then suppose you missed 2 exams, quiz 1 and midterm. I can use it only for 1, and I will use it for the one that is higher weight, more weight. Midterm has more weight. It's 25%. So the average of all the practice problems will replace your midterm if you didn't do mid. And then what about then quiz 1? Of course, then sorry, you didn't do mid. I can use it for only 1. right? Then you will be missing 20% of your data. That one obviously reflect well in the weighted average, right? So that's why I'm telling you, don't miss any more than one exam. If you miss more than one, your average of your practice problems can only fill in for one exam that's missing, right? Okay. All righty. So we're out of time. So that's it for today.
Wait, I want to know if I got the right textbook. It's Introduction to Finance, the custom edition, because that's what it showed on the BMCC website when I typed in fnb100.
That's the one. Look, that's the one. If you look, you cannot be wrong. If you have the access code, right, and you first, use your BMCC email, and click begin, then you are, signing up, and then once you're in there, it will ask for your.
You see right there, it says it's by Marcia Cornett, but then the author over here says it's you. So is that?
Yeah. That's correct. Look.
Okay.
You have BMCC. You have custom edition.
Yeah.
Okay. The author of the custom edition is Marcia Cornett and me. I mean, because I co-authored the BMCC custom edition, and just to identify the book easily, just so that students can identify the book, they put my name on it. Okay, but the original material, right? Regular edition. The regular edition will have only Marcia Cornett's name.
All right.
Okay?
All right. I just wanted to make sure that I had the right one.
And as long as you have access code that came with your book, you have no problem.
Okay.
Okay? You go in there and it will ask you to put in the access code. You put in the access code and you'll have access to everything. You will be able to see all this. Okay? All righty, so we're out of time. So I will have to see you guys. I mean, it's already, you guys owe me 7 minutes, okay? You guys owe me 7 minutes next time.
All right. See you, Professor.
Okie dokie. I'll have to stop sharing and I will stop recording and sign out. Have a great afternoon,
Professor,
everyone.
you owe us 7 minutes.
What?
Professor, you heard me? I said you owe us 7 minutes.
No. How come I owe you 7 minutes? Because
you have 7 minutes overtime.
Yeah, 7 minutes overtime. That came from me. So
I know.
You guys owe me 7 minutes.
No, Professor, you owe us 7 minutes. I'm just joking, Professor. Have a good day.
Next time I will have to. I will finish 7 minutes earlier because you guys owe me 7 minutes. Okay. All righty. Have a great afternoon.
Okay. All right.
All right. Take care, everyone.
You too. Take care.
All right. You too.